When I was a kid in the suburbs of Chicago, adventure meant Quetico Provincial Park, up on the border of Minnesota and Canada. The name implies that the place was small, but Quetico is a 1,000,000-acre nature preserve, so big you could go days without seeing a single soul. We would go on camping trips there, seeing bears and moose and deer, sleeping under star-soaked skies. The park was isolated and so pristine that you could actually drink the water straight from the lakes. But I'll never go back. Not after what happened to Frances Brandywine. Frances was 17 at the time, black-haired and reckless, determined to leave the well-trod path, to break new ground and be alone. A few years ago, Frances was up in Quetico with her family. They were in a remote part of the park, camped by a lonely body of water carved millions of years ago by a passing glacier. The lake was 300 feet deep. One night, after her family went to bed, Frances took the rowboat out, planning to find a quiet spot in the middle of the lake, look up at the sky, and write in her journal. So she left the shore, rowed for about 20 minutes, and when she felt satisfied that she was over the lake's deepest spot, she lay down on the bench and looked up at the night sky. The stars were very bright, and the aurora borealis was shimmering. She was feeling very peaceful. Then she heard something strange. She sat up, thinking the boat had drifted to shore and run aground. But when she looked up, she was still half a mile from the shore. She leaned over the side to see if she'd hit anything, but she saw nothing. No log, no rocks. She told herself it could be any number of things. A fish, a turtle, a stick that had drifted under the boat. She relaxed again and had just closed her eyes when she heard another knock. This time it was louder. Like the sound of someone knocking hard on a wooden door. Only, it was coming from the bottom of the boat. Now Frances was scared. She leaned over the side again. It had to be an animal, but what kind of animal would knock like that? Her mouth went dry. She held onto each side of the boat, waiting to see if it happened again. The silence grew and grew. A few minutes passed, and just as she began to think she'd imagined it all, the knocks came again, but this time louder. Frances lunged for the oars. She got them in place and began rowing. The water was very calm, so she should have made quick progress, but after a few minutes, she looked around and realized that she wasn't moving at all. Something was keeping her there. Again, she tried rowing. She rowed and rowed on the verge of tears, but she went nowhere. She stopped. She was exhausted. But soon she calmed herself again, and the boat was silent for 10 minutes, then 20. She tricked herself into thinking she'd imagined it all. But again, just when she was beginning to get a grip on herself, the knocking came once again. The floorboards of the boat shook with each knock. Shaken and scared, Frances tried to lower one of the oars into the black water, but as soon as the oar broke the water's surface, she felt a strong, silent tug at the other end, and the oar was pulled under. Now she had no other options. All she could do was sit and hope and wait. Wait for the morning to come. Wait for whatever was going to happen to happen. The knocking went on through the night. She passed the time writing in her notebook, and it's only because of her notebook that we know what happened that night. Frances can't tell us. No one ever saw her again. The boat was found on shore the next day, empty except for the journal. On those pages were her frantic thoughts, all written in her distinctive handwriting. All but the last page. I knocked first.